After a good night's sleep, I got up Saturday morning and made some eggs and bacon, put them on a paper plate, and then a breeze came along and blew the plate onto the ground. So Marley got eggs and bacon for breakfast, and then I had to remake my breakfast. After we ate, we packed up our gear, and then we checked the area where our tents were to make sure we didn't forget anything. And while we were checking the area, I found this rattlesnake. In case you didn't know, rattlesnakes don't always rattle. Usually when they rattle, it's a warning that you're getting too close, but if they don't feel threatened by you, they won't necessarily rattle. You can't see it too well in this photo, but the snake is actually looking back at me. We're actually looking at each other, and then it just went on its way. Again, never rattled the whole time. This just goes to show that you have to stay alert and be cautious of snakes. As we were crossing New Mexico, we stopped at the Capulin volcano. They had a really nice visitor center here, but they wanted $20 to drive to the top of the volcano, and it just didn't seem worth it to us. So we enjoyed the area for a little break, some time to walk the dog, and then we continued on our journey. We made our way over to Long Canyon Road, which I think is one of the most iconic sections of the Trans-American Trail. Climbing this switchback will take you into Colorado, and then from there it's just openness for as far as you can see. There's mountains in the distance, and the road just disappears in the horizon. This is Apache Arch, and it's carved through one of the volcanic dikes that's on the slopes of the Spanish Peaks. And this is along Cordova Pass. Going up in elevation, the temperatures got colder, and it was at this point that I realized that I forgot to pack a jacket. There's a beautiful campground at the summit of Cordova Pass, but there's only 3 campsites here. We made camp, had some dinner, and then enjoyed sitting around a propane fire pit for a little while before going to bed. That night it got really cold and the wind kicked up in the middle of the night, and I was so thankful for the fact that we were camped in the middle of all these big trees to help break up that wind. I can't imagine what it would have been like if we would have been sleeping in rooftop tents. The next morning we woke up and discovered that the winds had caused the tent to collapse on the guys that were camping next to us. And then from here we packed up our stuff and headed down to the John B. Farley Wildflower Overlook. You can get great views of the Spanish Peaks from here. I've been here in June and the mountains were snow-capped and it was beautiful. After leaving the Spanish Peaks, we drove to a Walmart over in Alamosa so we could grab a couple of hoodies and so I could get a fleece blanket to put in my sleeping bag. From there, we finally made our way over to the We RV Champions campground in La Veta, where we finally met up with the rest of the Vagabonds. Robbie, Zane, and I shared a campsite since we were tent camping. Later in the afternoon, Kevin and Maggie showed up in Kevin's Ranger, and then Mike and Jessica showed up in Mike's Ranger. Eric had came out a couple of days ahead of time to go to Durango and ride the train and ran into an axle issue while he was over there, so he was still over in Durango resolving that problem and would meet up with us later. It was nice being able to make camp early in the afternoon and then being able to spend the rest of the day just relaxing. It was also nice camping somewhere where I could take a nice warm shower. We had all traveled quite a distance to get here, and it was from this point that our vagabond adventure would actually begin. Monday morning we left La Veta and headed north to Bishop Castle. Jim Bishop began building this castle in 1969 and has clashed with nearly every agency imaginable since then. One of the biggest disputes was with the U.S. Forest Service over the rocks that he hauled from the surrounding national forest. Bishop argued that they were free for the taking and the government wanted to charge him for the truckload. Bishop died in 2024 and his son Dan is now the caretaker and continues construction on the castle. Heading west, we stopped in Salida and topped off with gas, and then headed out across Marshall Pass. I attempted to cross this pass back in June of 2019, but I had to turn around because there was too much snow. I kept expecting to see a bear on this trip, and this moose caught me completely off guard. I was like a little kid when I came to a clearing and saw this moose just grazing off to the side of the road. And the moose was pretty much unfazed by us. We saw 2 more moose before getting to the summit in the Continental Divide. This was a beautiful area, and I would love to have a house on top of this hill. There actually used to be a small town here back when this was a railroad pass across the mountain. We went on to cross Los Pinos Pass before we finally came to the Spruceville campground along Cibola Creek Road. This may sound weird, but I was impressed at how clean the restrooms were in these National Forest campgrounds. This was a beautiful campground next to a creek. It took us a little longer to get to this campground than I thought it would, but I think it was worth the drive. I'm also really glad we camped here instead of just pulling off and dispersed camping somewhere. We've been on the road for 5 days. We've covered a lot of miles, but it only gets better. Tomorrow we head for Cinnamon Pass in the Animas Forks ghost town. The Vagabonds and I appreciate you watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.